जागृति येष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुक्षो मुक्षो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते अस्मिन् लोकः अस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Please take your seat. Please stay for a UFA video.
Arthashastram, Dharmashastram, Real, economic principles, Earth, and ethical considerations, Dharma, which are central to the work of accountants. The entire world is deliberating about impact of climate change coupled with disruptions of artificial intelligence. India has given philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to the world and successfully hosted G20 summit on this theme and also launched Global Biofuels Alliance. The accounting profession also has an enormous responsibility to guide the work, where accountability meets innovation so that vision can be converted into solution. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, being the world's largest accounting body after the successful hosting of WCOA 2022 and GLOBAC, proudly presents before the world World Forum of Accountants 2025. Where accountability meets innovation for a sustainable planet. The world's brightest minds will exchange insights, explore emerging trends, and unlock the possibilities for the profession. Where foundation will be laid to shape the vision for the future of accounting profession. Hosted at Yashobhumi, the largest convention and exhibition center in the heart of India's capital, New Delhi, inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, is all set to host the congregation of accountants from around the world. And while you're here, experience the vibrant culture and heritage of New Delhi, a city where history meets modernity, offering unforgettable memories.
World Forum of Accountants, an experience of 3 days, insightful discussion, groundbreaking innovations, and unparalleled networking opportunities.
With immense pride, we invite you to WOFA 2025, taking place, happening from January 31st to February 2nd, 2025 at the magnificent Yashobhumi, New Delhi. Experience 3 days of insightful discussions, groundbreaking innovations, and unparalleled networking opportunities. World Forum of Accountants 2025 is where you need to be, where accountability meets innovation, AI for a sustainable planet. Join us at WOFA 2025 from January 31st to February 2nd, 2025 at Yashobhumi, New Delhi. For more details, visit wofa.icai.org.
C.A. Vetrivelan is a chartered accountant and a certified Scrum Master with over 14 years of experience in the field of internal audit, risk assessment, process review, thematic reviews, finance transformation, application reviews, GITC reviews, process improvements, control assessment review between countries and GCIs, for various sectors. He has spent significant time working outside India for various projects for various FS clients and has worked as risk manager, retail banking operations for a leading European bank and predominantly focused on risk assessment and specialized reviews. He has led internal audit for 15 plus major clients. He has been instrumental in identifying process gaps and control weakness for multiple companies in the financial services industry. Vetrivelan has conducted trainings and learning programs on various topics, including digital internal audit, use of AI and ML in internal audits, business process reviews, risk-based internal audit, business process reviews in multiple forums. And I also like to introduce Siddharth Sundararajan. He is also a chartered accountant, certified internal auditor, certified fraud examiner, certified information system auditor, and certification in risk management assurance. He has around 7 years of experience in assurance function with a primary focus on internal audits, process reviews, control reviews, IT audits, regulatory compliance reviews, and project management. He has managed multiple engagements in both India and abroad. The nature of the industries he has served include financial services, technology, industrial and consumer products, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, energy, media, and IT process outsourcing. He has conducted training and learning programs on various topics including risk-based internal audit, business process reviews, analytical in internal audit, control testing in multiple forums. With this brief introduction, SIRC of ICAI welcoming both the speakers to the Investor Awareness Program. SIRC of ICAI also thanking both the speakers for accepting the invitation in their busy schedule. We would like to request CA Siddharth to adorn this hall and present the memento to the speakers. Over to the speaker.
Good evening. Thanks for SIRC for inviting us, taking this opportunity to talk about Investor Awareness Program. Able to hear me? Actually, this is a rainy day, and looking at us, I think this is the sixth time I'm taking this opportunity. In spite of rainy day, we can see a lot of crowd. So it's interesting for us also. We're saying, okay, a lot of people is here to here for just not for the CPRs, but also they are interested to know what's happening. So we work in our Big Four background. So that's where me and Siddhu was working for quite a long time. And I specifically focus on the banking and capital market, and specifically if you ask me, significant time is spent on the capital market business. So might be have a justice to share some thoughts what's happening on it. But we are here not to teach where to invest, how to invest, what could be the ROI, etc. That's not our expectations. We're going to slightly change our angle on regulatory angle, because that's most important for our fraternity to understand in various capacity, might be in an advising capacity or as well as our own capacity for investment. We just want to be aware of that. So what we're going to cover today in lastly for the next 120 minutes or less than 120 minutes, talking what's happening on the regulatory space. It's quite exhaustive inventory, but we'll try to make a justice here and there, touch upon what's the key aspects of regulatory, which is expectations around it. And keeping in the mind, because of there's a request from ICAI also, we can close even much earlier. We try to close by 7:30. And during this session, if you have any doubts or clarity, let us know. So we're happy to answer this. so that we feel more interactive rather than just monologue on the sessions. That's our expectations. So anyone is already familiar on investment. We know our legacy is right. Last 50, 60 years ago, largely people focus more on that investing on gold or investing on real estate, right? So, investing on golds or real estate, that's where our legacy looks like, right? And what's the oldest stock exchange in Asia? Any guess?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Which years, any guess on year when they started first trading activity? 1875 or somewhere closer to that, right? So almost that's the oldest stock exchange, but the prominence happened only recently, right? So the prominence happened recently, right? How many people are aware of capital market business? Three. Okay. And anyone invested, not invested, or they are the expertise around it, or you advising on your capacity to your clients or anyone? Some. In what capacity you are operating?
People at the lowest strata start investing in mutual funds. First, to develop the habit of savings.
Okay.
Just tell them first you start saving of investment of your choice, be it FD, EPF, and also look at mutual fund as for long-term education.
No, that will come on that because.
No, so what I do is I tell people first, are you saving? If they say yes, I ask them. Then I say, then give them general inputs like start saving regularly, increase it like.
No, that's why I told our legacy, right? Still, if you ask all the metros, millennial group as well as the Gen Z, right? They are more investing on your bitcoins or cryptos, right? That's the focus, and that's one extreme of population is investing. Still, larger populations are interested on gold and real estate, right? That's where our tradition comes. That's where we still living. That's where our parents or elders or grandparents have been brought up, right? And since we have the oldest stock exchange, but if you pick up that the way we started now, the market driven, where to invest, where to maximize my revenue, what is a good return of ROI can come, whether I can put on MF mutual funds, right? Exactly, this is what the most happening trend to see that what's quickly I can turn a return. So that's the kind of a momentum or the pressure is going on because inflation, second, people wants to earn much faster than what is supposed to come, right? So the compounding impact is happening. So keeping that as a context, right? There's a flip side of it also. You heard a lot of scams. Any famous scams you want to call out? Harshad Mehta is a classic case. Then Harshad Mehta, Kadvi, Satya, right? So these are the famous one, right? So what's the intention, right? Because people not aware what's happening behind the scenes after we invested as an investor capacity, or as an auditor or advisor capacity, we not able to catch hold of them what's exactly missing, what is supposed to report, what is not reported, or they not understand how the market behaves, where is going, because all this pertains to the awareness, right? Because we have to aware how this market works, how the investment reflected, and it's cascading and coming back to you, right? You know, entire cycle. So that's an investor one. There is a financial institutions or the consumer of this investment who's making this money and making it to compounding effect and giving back to you, right? That's the larger play they do. Then obviously you have your stock exchange like BSE and SE who regulates or who just helping on this trading activity and shows us where the money is going around, what's the price movement and market speculations. And the other important party or the stakeholder on this entire ecosystem is the regulator, right? Because they are the one who come with your thought paper, guidance, notes, or circulars, notifications, how it has to operate. And the larger one is SEBI, and they are the one who keep on bringing the fair practices or best practices, so that they'll make sure such of the scams can be reduced. That's the whole intention, to protect the investor and the economy, right? Because the one single instance, the impact of economy is a cascading impact. It's the impact across the economy. It's not only that the market goes down, for that the investment decisions, and whatever we need to get a FDI or FPI, right? So all it has this impact. So the essential player of this is your regulator, the watchdogs. Like SEBI, RBI, they are the most interested person who keep on watching out whatsoever the practice they follow. Classic case is this reported Rashad method, right? So he's a best of brains who created that. Where are the loopholes? You use all your bank receipts and you utilize those opportunities, try to escalate the market where supposed to be, I think the famous trading was ACC, right? That's the stock which was 200, it should have put to 9,000 per share, right? So that's the kind of escalation he made, and he smartly moved that rotating the funds and escalating, but he's capitalizes all the funds from the banking and financial institutions. That's a where he played the cards very smartly, but the damage was very alarming, and the people are trying to see what has happened, where this is speculated. So they're an interested party on this entire game. Similar for the Carvi, right? Carvi is a classic case where all your securities the collateral has been used for getting a loan some other platforms, right? That's what they involved in. So that's another dangerous, because so many public invested. You were saying about people has to encourage to invest in bonds, MF, etc., right? The other flip side of people doesn't know. They invested a lakh or $100,000 100,000 rupees, and they invested this runaway, right? So they don't keep watch away. What is that security is a demat account which is there. So that's where the Kavi utilized that opportunity, and they use that as a collateral to get a fund from the financial institution, and they did it out, right? So that's another important flip where the people are not aware of where this is my demat shares has been living and what is being utilized or not utilized. So the bottom line is awareness. Why we pitching this area is the people has to aware what is my investment made, where is this secure, or the collateral is still with us, or someone is utilizing those opportunities. That's where, as an investor, as an advisor or auditor or whatever the capacity, you have to be very watchful and so meaningfully given a regular advice to the clients, as well as you need to be taking regular decisions what you're supposed to do. So that's a context I just want to add upon. Just to push it. So broadly, agenda is, if you want to know, I always said the objective of the sessions, what's supposed to cover, and what is that investment awareness, right? Why we need this investment awareness? So we've given some examples like the practical cases and the consequences also. Then role of investors, what are the roles they play as investors? Then the regulatory perspective, specifically that's what we're going to do a double click, or we're going to do a deep dive in terms of what's happening and what are the regulations and how we're going to protect us. And then the key regulations we're going to touch upon. Of course, I mentioned because it's not possible to cover all the regulations. Of course, we'll try to capitalize the time where we can be able to do that. Critical regulations can be covered. And the next is on the consensus and grievances, which is what are the concerns, how the grievance mechanisms, how the regulator going to help you if there's a concern is going to raise, and how the resolution and mitigation is going to happen. So there's a channel to raise them so that those investors are got protected. And the importance of the compliances and the risk management, which is also we're going to touch upon it, and what are the challenges and solutions in this market space. That's also we're going to do. In some practical use cases, we're going to discuss and see what went wrong and what should be the corrective action should be taken. And the last is Q&A, where we can pick up on this. This is what broadly we're going to touch upon in terms of our flow of conversation. Yeah. See, what people are thinking on investment awareness, because I need to brush up around investment awareness also. What's the expectation? Of course, it's straightforward answer. Everyone wants the return without risk. That's a whole objective. But they also to be aware of the regulations and the tax liabilities, right? Because that's where it's going to be a pulling effect on it. So what's the investment options generally? We go through that. Any guess? Anyone deal with debt markets? Debentures, bonds, sovereigns? No? That's also another good market, but you need to be careful. Clear strategies required. And anyone aware of alternatives, investment AIF? That's another vehicle, right? There are so many products in the market. Every day, so many markets, but they also put subject to market risk from private, right? Which is what people will be more cautious on it. So how the biggest right now, the investor having bigger trouble is too many options in their table. So they don't know where to invest, what could be there, how it works, and our ecosystem also become wide because of a globalization, and a lot of custodians, a lot of brokerage businesses came, and now we have a trade settle as a T+0, right? On the same day they're going to settle it. That's where they're trying to achieve. So many AI technologies, business eco models has been changed, and so many foreign investment has happened, and so there are so many things happening. So the fundamental is whether people is aware of which is the right product for the right return of investment which they're looking around. That's the first thing. Be cautious around it, and you have IMs, investment managers or financial advisors, and you have brokers which will also help you, but you don't know what's the intention. So we equip your clients, because I'm just keeping in the mind of we're all coming with the same fraternity. Largely we will help our clients in the out of the box. You might be a tax advisor, you might be an external auditor, but suddenly there's a request popping up whether I need to do investor or which is the investment model, whether I should do an acquisition. Of course you can easily advise them, but short-term investment, how we are going to make it up, and those are the where as an CAs or the fraternity need to be aware of what could be that the product, how it works, what is the return, what's the regulatory impact. The regulatory impact, the reason why we called out is most of FDIs, right? FDI, the reason is they are the larger happening population who wants to invest in India market. The reason is of geopolitical issues which is happening, and that is changing now because of the last 6 months or 8 months ago. The trend is keep on changing, right? It's unpredictable market of this which we have. Most of the FDI is going on China, not on India, because of that how our economy behaves and what are the options. What are the regulations which is also overkilling the investor not to go for this market, to go for alternate markets, right? So keeping it in that mind, as you advisors, or you going to give in some peer advice, just be cautious in terms of what we are advising, because most of the situation when we work with our capital market clients, right? Everyone keeping the bigger brand like a JPMC, GS, and even Deutsche, right? All the bigger ones is having the good in the market, but the speculation is huge because of each country come with their own regulations, and they have a consolidated AIF which they invested, which is AIF is nothing about your consolidated package of investment. Within that they have a hedging model is there, so that your risk is get minimized, but it has the compounding impact which we need to be carefully there. So basically see the investment options and return. Then basically our market, our India market is largely driven by SEBI and RBI, and SEBI comes with your all the way larger one is always insider trading, because that's where the scams is being happened, right? And that is still happening, but it's minimized to the exposure level. And how we can able to manage is something is all our regulations are disclosure model. It's not fault finding model, right? So as long as something has happened is what there's an investigation happened, but there's all our disclosure model, and there is a mechanisms to which help of our AI you able to achieve to identify all the insider trading. Largely your the employees or directors or key management persons, right, who's already aware about your financial results? Are they going to do any M&A activity within that organization? Are they going to do a dividend? Obviously, they know that what is that is happening in their own entity or their known entity. And now that SEBI come with a new term of that relative or immediate relative has been changed, right? Now it's a relative includes closer definitions, include your extended family and their brothers, sisters, and in-laws, right? Everyone's covered as a relative term. So now this insider trading term has been changed. Because of that, all the organizations, including your advisors and your auditors, everyone has giving caution to the clients. So this term of relative has been extended definition has been key. Last is financial goal alignment, which is nothing about each one have their own priority. I can go for derivative, I can go for debt market, I can go for sovereigns. So it's all over, and I can go for Bitcoin. So that's all comes with that how much I want to take the risk, how much I want to get the return. So that's something, keep it as a funda before you getting into how to move around your decisions around this investment awareness. So what is for our fraternity, right? You have various capacity. So where are you going to play the roles accordingly? Because I know a lot of CS are hardcore investment bankers. They do brokerage business. They act in the investment banking world also. And because of a lot of numbers and market indexes which they play around it. That's the one set of population. The other set of populations is on their own personal growth, which they invest in also. And the third set of population is actually more in the capacity of compliances of regulators and in the capacity of the auditors, internal auditor, external auditor, or any kind of a treasury department within their organization they operate, right? So these are the parties who's looking for them to protect their financial organization or the organization belongs to, or the clients of their organization which they have, right? So these are the various capacity of CA is the most important crucial here. Because of all the scams which I have mentioned, there's our fraternity touch point is there. And they are also having the responsibility and the contribute towards that they missed out or intentionally and unintentionally, we don't know. It's case-to-case basis, we can't comment on it. But there's a touch point of the CAs is there, all the bigger stories in the India market, right? I'm not touching the global market stories, which are all pretty white-collar crimes which has happened. But our Indian market businesses, which is very straightforward and we can easily be able to catch it. The reason why is it needs a deeper lens and how this entire trade life cycle works and how it gets reported, what's the investment decision is being made, and what is the custodian who's managing those books of accounts, right? So in various entire ecosystem of trading happen, right? So there is a CS involved on it, so they can have a clearly watch out where to can pay the card and where they can have to give an advice or not to give an advice on it. So that's one of our requests to place very clearly on that. I think the objective we already said. This one. Okay. So what's the role of investors which you're going to make? Now I'm going to push you guys to speak. Already given some context, so I think that one has been done. What are the role of investors? What are the various roles? Whatever can be a simple English can put across. So it gives a spark in the thoughts so that we can expand your spark into more detail. Because this gives you an idea where you want to place your position in this whole ecosystem. Any guess, any clue? It's already there. It's okay. You want to go for someone? No, we prefer more interactive. That's where it helps both the side. What's going on, because we don't know everything what we're saying is going on or it's not going on. It's not a tough question. Yes, sir. Go ahead. You were trying to say something? So SEBI come with investor awareness program, right? The BSE, NSE is doing regular programs, right? So what is their work intention? Likely is changing my question. What they're trying to do it?
They aware the product of the.
Yes. One, people should aware of what's the product lines, what are the options for the available, how my debenture market works, how my secondary market works, how my primary market works. That's the whole intention, right? Because someone suddenly come with IPO, whether I should make an investment decision on my primary market, or should I wait to do my trading activity, or to invest in my over-the-counter, like a secondary market kind of a world, right? So basically the awareness is 30%. That's all. We got a statistics, because people still prefer to go for fixed deposit, prefer to go for savings account, prefer to keep it heavy cash. Prefer to keep it all your terrorism or other transactions. That's differences.
Mostly most of the people like to deposit in fixed instrument.
Second most important, right? You know what's happening in Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin has been used for a different purpose right now. And, there's no regulation in this field. You can't catch that what's the source of fund, who's making, and how it's transmitted in different shape and form. And the most important, right, the whole regulation of SEBI bringing to avoid that the cash or the investment not for terrorism or not for crime purpose also. But that's been used for the last 20 years before, right? That's been reduced, but still there's a way to make it. Has been happening. That's the one. The second important objective of regulator who's keep on watching it. Second is after Arshad Mata case, right? Everyone wants to make sure that we never make any small changes to do a market speculations. A market speculation is dangerous, right? Because if suddenly a stock is increasing, right? Almost 20,000 people going to invest there, right? That's the direction where that market is moving on. And the common or illiterate investor go and put the money there. That's the second, which we're talking about, investment option, why it's doing, what's not doing, right? That's the. What's the third important? The reason why the regulators keep on publishing the guidelines. FDI is another bigger area, almost a lot of money coming from foreign direct investments, and there is no regulations, or there's a regulations, but there is no clear mechanism. For example, if I want to do trading from US or El Salvador or from Venezuela, right? I need a clear authorization in India market if I want to invest in India. So I have to go for FPI regulations, right? They're asking us to get a certificate from my DP, deposit participants, and saying that I have authorization to make a trading activity in India or investing in India. And there's an eligibility criteria. If like looking at 10 or 15 criteria, most of them will fail, right? That's that because they given a clear Class A, Class B, Class C security where to invest, right? And looking at that option, they given a clear instruction. All those FDIs who's making the group of FDIs, they should have a compliance officer. if you asked honestly whether they have a compliance officer or no, all they go via institutional model. So the institutional model, they create an entity in India, they have a compliance team and they do a compliance officer roles. So that's the way it's the way they satisfying the requirement of the regulations. Likewise, we have 2000 obligations. If the 2000 obligations I want to comply, make sure if I'm making investment, taking money back out of India, it's not easy, right? So that's where this complex regulation scheme, so that the money investment stays in India, it doesn't go backward, or the return is still, they can enjoy the return with the tax possibly of protection still. So that's the whole year model which they are. And last is ethicals. Ethics is this market is highly a number game. They know how to speculate, how to reduce, how to position the financial statements before my IPO, pre-IPO, and how I can create a market impact, right? That's where most of the organizations smart enough to do. So those are the ethical practices they want to kill out. So those are the 4 or 5 wider themes or the objective which they want to regulate on this. So now we go double click on that regulatory angle. What are the underlying principles or the thematics which they want to achieve with each regulations? I think that gives a more perspective view. And any questions, just raise hands. We can help you to answer those questions. It was slightly intense, but we're happy to keep it in a simple words.
We'll start off with SEBI. So we are going to cover 4 major regulators here. One, we'll start off with SEBI, then we'll also cover aspects pertaining to RBI, IRDA, and what has been prescribed by the Companies Act as well. So how SEBI ensures this investor protection is through its regulatory framework. So there are multiple regulations like the LODR, insider trading, and related. So the first requirement SEBI has is multiple disclosure requirements, like it mandates the disclosures to be made by multiple companies and market intermediaries so that investors will have access to timely information. And it also mandates fair trade practices, prohibition of insider trading, fraudulent activities, and market manipulations. We also have a platform called Scores where the investors can lodge complaints against the market participants, and SEBI will also ensure that these complaints are addressed in a timely manner. And finally, you have the Investor Protection Fund as well. So in case of any defaults by the market intermediaries or any corporate who's regulated by SEBI, SEBI will definitely facilitate the compensation to investor through the IEPF or established at various stock exchanges. Apart from that, SEBI also undertakes various investor education initiatives as well. Like for example, workshops and seminars which it conducts through regular investor awareness programs. So it often collaborates with stock exchanges, depositories, and other market participants to conduct these programs. And apart from that, it also issues various educational materials like booklets, brochures, online resources. And now we also, due to the advent of social media, we have also seen all these awareness posters being put up in various platforms like your YouTube, Facebook, or even the recent X platform as well. And SEBI also has its own surveillance and monitoring systems as well. So based on the transactions and data which are submitted by various regulated entities to SEBI, it will also monitor any unusual trading activities, unusual patterns, or any manipulative practices which might be followed by any of the regulated entities. Apart from that, SEBI also conducts various inspections and audits of all the regulated entities to see whether they are being compliant with the regulations, and in case they are non-compliant, it also enforces in penalties and fines based on the inspection it has performed. And similar to, so I'll probably touch upon some of the specific regulations here in SEBI. I'm not going into each one of them in detail, but I'll probably touch upon how they ensure investor awareness, corporate governance measures, and transparency and disclosure requirements as well. So First would be the LODR regulations. So LODR will require the listed companies. It could be a listed equity security or a debt security. It will require the company to disclose the detailed information about the financial performance, corporate governance practices, risk management, and any other could be any material development for that matter which will affect the company's stock price. So there are mandatory disclosures like the quarterly financial results, quarterly corporate governance reports, and then the material event notifications which will keep the investors informed on what's going on. And from a governance perspective, it also mandates the appointment of independent directors and various committees as well. Like for example, NRC or the Risk Management Committee for the top 1,000 companies. And due to the disclosure requirements, there's lots of transparency on how the company is operating, and this will definitely help the investors to make some informed decisions as well. The next one is on the insider trading regulations. So I'm sure most of you would be familiar on what is insider trading. We briefly touched upon this one as well. So here SEBI has really put some heavy fines on anyone who is indulging in practices like insider trading, and like for example 25 crores or 3 times the profits of insider trading, whichever is higher. It also mandates disclosures by insiders as well. You have to mandatorily disclose the trades in the company shares, and additionally these regulations also mandate that the entity should disclose their ownership and any changes in the holdings of KNP promoters as well. So how this helps in investor awareness is by it prevents the insiders from using confidential information for personal gain, and through this SEBI will ensure that there is a level playing field for all the investors due to these regulations. And moving on to the mutual fund regulations, so here it mandates the mutual funds to operate through 3 structures like having a sponsor, asset management company, trustee, and a custodian for the funds. And it also mandates the mutual funds to offer products which are transparent, disclosed, and subject to audit as well. And the AMC also should adhere to the ethical standards in managing the investor funds. And mutual funds are also required to disclose the risks and provide clear information about the risks involved in various schemes, could be the equity, debt, or hybrid schemes as well. And they must disclose the fund's performance, fees, and expenses in the offer document which they are offering to the investor. So investors are, of course, might have seen that ad or the advertisements on the newspapers or the media as well. So again, it's really important that investors should read all these documents and terms and conditions before they make an investment into a mutual fund. And there's a requirement for disclosing the net asset value, NAV of the mutual fund as well, so that the investors will be able to track the fund's performance and compare it with how the other funds are performing and the market conditions as well. Takeover regulations. So these regulations provide safeguards for shareholders, especially the minority shareholders, whenever there are corporate takeovers and mergers which are happening. So these regulations ensure that whenever a takeover is made, the acquirer will provide full and fair disclosure regarding terms of offer, price, impact on the company's future as well. And here the shareholders also have the rights whether to accept the offer or not. So SEBI's these rules will ensure that acquirer will treat all the shareholders equally, and the minority shareholders during such takeovers are not exploited. Any questions here before we can?
So anyone came in the past of experience on insider trading? Saying how it's happened. I know, I think it's a Google question. People face are changing now. The intention is want to know how it was happened. From that, we were peer conversation with various forums. So this is the way it was happened.
We are talking about a lot of investigation by SEBI for the price manipulation.
Yeah.
As a practitioner, we have come across a lot of investigations by SEBI in conjunction with the income tax department related to price manipulation in the smaller stocks.
Okay.
Beyond that, we don't come up with any insider trading.
So one simple example, it's a very global practice, it's been happened, but there's a way to catch hold of us there in addition to your disclosure requirement. So whenever there's a dividend declaration, right, or there's an estimated or there's an anticipated of dividend declarations happen, right? So the people working on the KMP, which is key manager personnel, which has 10 people involved, your directors, your close people, your finance functions, your consultants, and because the consultants is having access to your information, what's happening, right? So we also act as a consultant capacity with your clients, and it can be various capacity, tax, internal audit, or GST, I'm saying direct and indirect angle. So all have access to your clients, right? There's a unique case was happened, right? One of our consultant pick up before dividend declare, and or there's a anticipation of dividend declare. They pump the stock of getting the similar stock which is going to have in the listed company, right? And they know this is going to happen in 6 months, right? They bought almost massive shares from their network. Almost 10,000 shares has been purchased, right? So it was a sudden spike of people got the shares. So I'm saying the regulators also the ways to catch hold, right? So sudden spike has happened is not a good sign. So they always do a double investigations. Why all sudden this happened 6 or 8 months before this suddenly happened. 1 year before the suddenly spike is happening. And that is a long way to hunt exactly if there's a smart consultant, they can't able to disclose that one. Otherwise, now what is the solution has been developed with the help of AI. GenAI came into picture. Everything is in a single platform, or the government bringing everything on a digitalization form, right? So they're trying to bring in the hierarchy, the family hierarchy and the friends hierarchy, right? And they wherever they see is a sudden change in the pattern of behavior of the investment, they just doing a double click and seeing if there's any linkage over there. And this investigations or this analysis is regularly happened recently now to catch hold of any insider trading, and they just fixed that at the KMP, including the consultant who's involved on this particular sudden spike of shares and happening. Your ESOP's there, but that's discounted on it. In addition to that, these are the people where the insider trading is getting very, very prominence on it. Just as some practical cases, but I don't want to teach how it's happened.
So we have more SEBI-related regulations as well. So again, first one here is the prohibition of fraudulent and unfair trade practices regulation. So this one puts heavy penalties and fines for any regulated entity which is indulging in practices like market manipulation, price rigging, or creation of artificial demand. And apart from that, there are various guidelines issued by SEBI on IPOs and public issues. So there's also a requirement for the investors to read the DHRP red herring prospectus so that they are very clear on the company information, terms and conditions of the offer before they go on and make an investment. And all these guidelines also ensure that these companies who are going for an offer, they need to ensure the proper disclosures in these documents, and also the listing timelines and safeguards against any misrepresentation or violation. And AIFs, so we are seeing this picking up in the recent aspects. So AIF might include private equity funds or hedge funds or real estate funds or venture capital funds or any of the categories for that matter. So all these AIFs are categorized into 3 groups, category 1, 2 and 3, depending on the risk it involves, the investment strategies and the regulatory requirements as well. And in terms of investor protection measures, AIFs need to provide regular disclosures about the strategy, portfolio performance, management fees to all the investors, and AIF managers are also required to align their interests with that of the investors as well. something which come out on this slide. This is on the pension fund regulations as well. So similar to AIFs, the pension fund managers, regulators are also the entities which are managing the pension funds are also required to disclose the investment strategies, holdings and performance on a regular basis to the investors so that they are aware of as well.
So I don't know how many are very close to the market news. Anyone on an IPO business or head to be released in IPO, those are the targets for ransomware. And you know where I'm coming because of many countries who sit right now on the war side. They are looking for funding, and funding is not happening. So funding is going via ransomware. So they target most of our Indian market clients who's on the IPO side. So there's a ransomware. So there's the other side of it where we're going to touch on that the security angle, because we're all talking about this one side of a story where the target was completely different. There's one set of population working towards releasing ransomware to the target company who's before on the IPO front, and that might not be in the market news, but we work with many of those organizations. Just 12 hours before IPO, this attack was happened. Just 6 hours before IPO, the attack was happened. They lost all the information. They can't go for IPO. There's some pullbacks also happen on the IPO, but there's a heavy price is being paid. But that is one of the biggest concern for many organizations, because as an investor who's already a promoter who's looking for an IPO, right? They are the one who's so excited on IPO while clicking the bell and to get into public capital to raise. But most of this regulations and guidance which is coming around is prior to IPO, which is a primary market. The bigger problems is going on the ground without disclosing a name. So that's a bigger concerns. As an advisor, just tell your clients or you are involved on the investment side, check it out. The cyber angle is taken care if they are going for the primary market.
And we have some more guidelines or regulations given by ECB here as well. Like for example, the guidelines on the stockbrokers and market intermediaries, which specifies the code of conduct for brokers, the investor actions which needs to be taken. Not going into this too much in detail, but I'll give this here for your overview.
So the most important party is your brokers, who are the intermediary between you and your informations with your clearinghouse, right? So that's the way they acted very clearly. If you know how that this process works, the broker role is they have access to your information completely, where you want to invest. Of course, it's a demat account where your shares are secure. But the most important, all the failure cases, most of the where it's a brokerage participation is more in that entire failure. So just be cautious while picking your brokers or IAMs, who's going to be the central point of contact we're deciding. But now things have changed. A lot of fintech company came and they creating applications which will help you to give a complete information on what's happening. But erstwhile still the larger net worth clients, right? They prefer to keep the broker and the FAs or IMs, right? They still operated on there as an advisor because they are the one central console who manage the end-to-end investing options and etc. or placing the order on behalf of the client. So any of your high net worth client just see everything is okay or not, and that's an important aspect. But otherwise, it's a small ticket investment. There's a lot of applications, so they can have a public information they can decide. But big ticket transactions are happen through the brokers and IMs.
Moving on to the next regulator, RBI. This is more on entities which are regulated by RBI, like the banks or NBFCs or payment systems as well, so which are regulated by RBI. So there are various regulations which RBI has to ensure the investor protection. Like for example, let's take the case of NBFC. So we have a scale-based directions which will ensure that they operate within it's like the Bible for NBFCs. So it will ensure that the NBFCs will operate within that framework and maintain sufficient liquidity and financial stability and all that, which is mandated by the scale-based regulation. Just giving one example here. And apart from that, there are various prudential norms and other master directions and circulars given by RBI as well. And there are also various customer-centric rules such as transparent pricing of loans. So all the regulated entities needs to disclose their interest rates and other details on the website so that the customers and investors can have a fair view of the rates which are applicable, and to have a transparent view on the loan pricing. Even the terms and conditions, fair practice code, everything needs to be disclosed mandatorily in any document which is provided to the customer, and also the documents which are displayed on the website as well. In terms of consumer protection, you have the ombudsman schemes as well. Like for example, you have banking ombudsman scheme, integrated ombudsman scheme. Some of the entities also need to have an internal ombudsman depending on the size and requirements of the master direction on the internal ombudsman. And similar to other financial regulators, RBI also has its own portal for lodging complaints called the complaints management system, which will allow the investors or consumers to register complaints against the regulated entities as well. So here I give some examples of how RBI ensures the investor awareness and safeguards. So I'll take up FEMA first, since FEMA is something which is being governed by RBI and it involves foreign investments and transactions as well. So FEMA clearly gives the guidelines on what is the framework for foreign investments in India. For example, if an investor wants to make an investment outside India, like what are the limits applicable, what are the investments they can make, all that is being governed by FEMA. And it also manages the disclosures and documentation of foreign exchange transactions. So all these entities which are making foreign investments have to disclose those appropriately as well. So by regulating these transactions as well, the investors can also understand what is the currency risk, since it involves cross-border transactions in different currencies as well. And the second part is something which we have seen recently upcoming as well on the digital lending platforms as well. We have seen a lot of digital platforms and mobile apps which have been coming on. And recently RBI has also brought out the digital lending guidelines to govern all these apps, because what some of these apps have done is they took control of the mobile devices and even instigated some of the customers to extreme measures since they couldn't repay the loans. So now RBI has brought in guidelines like the digital lending guidelines, so that all these apps and entities which are running into digital lending can be governed by. So all these digital lending guidelines includes disclosure requirements on the key fact statements, any document which is given to the customer, disclosures on the website on who are the digital lending partners from the regulated entities perspective, and also some technology requirements like obtaining the consent from the customer at each stage of the borrowing and having an audit trail for the consent obtained. And from the payment system perspective, RBI ensures that all these payment systems adhere to stringent security protocols as well, like following the encryption, multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication. So this will definitely provide the investors with some kind of confidence that whatever transactions are being undertaken are secure. And by regulating all these payment system operators, RBI will also ensure that investor rights are safeguarded from any unauthorized transactions which might come out. And apart from that, RBI has prescribed various prudential norms as well. Like, for example, when the banks and financial institutions are following these prudential norms, it will help in creating a more resilient financial system that will protect the investor rates, and there's an increased focus on asset quality, capital adequacy and provisioning. So this is again in relation to the previous example which I gave on the scale-based direction which are applicable for NBFCs. And apart from that, there are risk management guidelines as well, which will RBI is mandated to ensure that the risk faced by investors are reduced. Any questions on the RBI part before we move on to IRDA? Similar to SEBI and RBI, IRDA also has various awareness initiatives. It has taken up various awareness initiatives both with the insurance providers along with the intermediaries as well who are involved in the insurance business. And it's also involved in regulating insurance advertisements so that all the insurers and potential investors have access to reliable information. So this will also in turn help the customers to make informed decisions when they are investing in any insurance product. And there's also a regulation to prevent any misleading practices. So this will protect the investors from deceptive practices. Like for example, there could be hidden fees when they are making an investment for insurance, exaggerated claims and misrepresentation of the insurance benefits. So IRDA has clear guidelines to prevent all this, and it has also imposed heavy regulatory fines on companies who are following these practices. From the Companies Act perspective, again, corporate governance is a key part. So some of the companies are required to appoint independent directors on their boards, have audit committees and different kind of stakeholder committees like NRC, risk management committee, depending on the nature of the company. And there are various disclosure requirements as well, depending again on the nature of the company. So there is a mandatory disclosure requirement and a board report as well, which will include details on financial performance, risk management, what are the different CSR initiatives which have been taken by the company, and even the audit reports which come along with the company's annual report will the auditors have to disclose any fraudulent activities or irregularities to ensure that there is transparency. And there are various provisions in the Act which protect the stakes of the minority shareholders as well. So in case the minority shareholders feel that they're facing operational mismanagement, they can approach the NCLT or file class action suits against companies or directors, and there are strict rules governing the related party transactions also within the company. So this is just a slide which shows how to approach the regulator in case there's a complaint you want to file against one of the regulated entities, how to approach the regulator. Like for example, for SEBI, you have the scores. We also have a detailed slide showing the screenshot on how to access the scores or RBI CMS page. So for SEBI, it is the scores portal where the complaints can be lodged, and for RBI, it is the CMS portal. The MCA page can be used to lodge the complaints, and for income tax, it depends on the jurisdiction, but the e-filing portal itself can be used to raise the grievances. And apart from that, we also have other regulations like the consumer protection authorities, the money laundering related, and IRDA, of course, is there for the insurance related as well.
So on raising your complaints, right? One is on the SEBI, where you have a trading related concern, where brokers or a mobile app or advisors or anyone else doesn't feel that, okay, money is being cheated, this is not the way I invested, but this money is not coming, right? You can approach SCORE platform, which is there. You can directly file a complaint on the categorization which you feel want to apply. Then they will take that time of minimum 30 to 180 days to get back to you with the resolutions. That's one very good platform to get a resolution, because that's where they work on it. And an RBI front, which is on a banking world, anything pertains to your retail banking, corporate banking, or any other FD or loans or any other products which you get from the financial institutions other than your investment, right? And that one, there is a CMS portal, but there's a one cautious here. You can't directly reach out to RBI. So first, you have to reach out to the respective financial institution nodal officer and raise a complaint or concern. And if they're not able to resolve in 30 days, then you can go back to RBI. Otherwise, RBI straight away reject your complaint in the CMS portal, which is CMS portal which is there. Almost on average, approximately 14,000 complaints are going RBI portal. So they have a full backend team who will go case by case and respond back to it. But the first filter which they applied right now is anyone directly approaching the RBI without raising a complaint in their banking world or the respective NBFC or whatever the banks which you deal with, then straight away the cases get rejected. So they will not respond to you. You can't expect any response from RBI. That's one thing you have to see the difference between the SIB and RBI. It's RBI because so many customer fraud, credit card fraud, money got debited. So many issues are there, right? Complaints. So the number of complaints is increasing in RBI than SIB. So that's a change scheme. So that everyone is aware of that.
Just to add on that, it's the ombudsman scheme which prescribes that first the complaint needs to be made with the regulated entity, and if the entity is not able to address the complaint within a specific time period, let's say 30 days, then the person who has made the complaint can approach the ombudsman of the RBI for taking the complaint.
As we go on the digital world, so many transactions are exposed to a digital world, and the entire business ecosystem has been changed, right? Everyone has been outsourced to third parties. Your bank is outsourced to this entire activities to third party, and they approach you for some information. You might disclose, may not disclose, but it's exposed to your information. So, it's a multi-geography, right? So the post-globalization, everyone can access anything, right? Since the number of complaints or concerns raised, that's where you can see so many complaints is not resolved. But there's a report from RBI, you can see what is the categorization of complaints. That gives a good learning for you to understand what kind of issues or triggers happen. Of course, the acts of RBI, they keep on publishing. The moment there's a concern, they publish the guidance notes, circular, and intimate to all the banking world. But still, it's keep on increasing. But they keep on doing firefighting also.
So this is just an extract of the SCORE portal. I wanted to just show how it looks like. These are the links to raise the complaints on the MCA page and CMS portal of RBI. Just wanted to show it here for reference.
Any experience with the CMS portal where you were not able to get response or got a response? Anything you want to share before we share some more information? Or you were not exposed to that, or never attempted, or there's no issue in your financial world?
We are not attempt to
See, most of our customers, right, they reach out to the wrong persons, right? So as soon as the moment they have a concern, they try to contact the customer centers or the brokers, IMs and etc. They try to revolve. Either they give up, or largely this has happened to the senior citizen group, or because of the so many digital world is came, they don't know where to navigate, what to approach, and we don't follow what is happening on our account. That's the world which most of them are living. And I don't know what is in my bank account happening, I don't know what is happening in my Demat account. So because of super busy, that's the between anyone 20s to 50s, those age groups are struggling on that because of their BIUs, they're struggling on a lot of things. And at the age group of 50 or 16 above, they are got a digital disruption, so that's where most of the people taking advantage of them. And that's a category of complaints when we went to an investigation, that's where because of that has been happening. So be aware, if you're not clear, always do a self-read and go for authenticate sources, what to upload, how to deal with it. Otherwise, this complaint never solved, and you lose your whatever that hard investment you made on it.
Okay, so this slide has the different steps to be taken. Like when there's a concern or a grievance which needs to be reported to the regulatory authority, like we mentioned before, first it has to be raised to the respective entity. Could be a bank or NBFC or insurance company, depending on whichever entity it is. And there should be a record of all communication or complaint with the entity, because when this is taken at the later stage, for example, if the company is not able to resolve that complaint, the next moment when the complaint is being taken to the next level, like for example the RBI or IRD, whomsoever it may be, they definitely ask for evidence of the complaint which has been raised to the entity. So all the records and documentation will have to be clearly mentioned. Once the legal entity is not able to address this complaint, then it is taken to the regulator. So when it's being taken to the regulator, it's crucial that the case is detailed in a manner so that the person who is going to address it from the regulator's end is able to understand what is the complaint and what they can do. Right? And also all the documentation and evidence which has been corrected when the complaint has been raised to the company needs to be attached when raising it to the regulator. And so we also touched upon the scores and CMS systems. And it's also important to follow up on the complaint as well. What happens is sometimes the investor or the consumer, they just raise a complaint and think, okay, they'll respond. Sometimes it might not happen on time. So it's critical that whoever is making the complaint needs to follow up on time as well. There might be cases where the regulator might not rule in favor of the person who has made the complaint. So in this case, the consumer or investor always has the option to go to a higher authority. Could be an appellate tribunal or a court as well.
நமக்கு எல்லா நியூஸுமே அமெரிக்காலேருந்து தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வருது. இந்த அத்தாரிட்டிலாம் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க?
Okay. That's what I don't know, sir. You notice my word. We have a good regulation, all our disclosure mechanism. We have to declare. But the way to identify that continuous monitoring on all these gaps, issues, right? Most of our what we are trying to do are our legal or regulation mechanism, right? First, we understand UK or US, any part of the world. They come up, for example, GDPR, or there's a Data Protection Act, Data Localization Act, right? Our ecosystem or our regulatory system is such that is so complex, and they come up with so many things, but they forget what is the primary. They start looking what else is the fire is happening, they start doing on it. And there's no straightforward answer what is our authorities are doing. So much of purpose of regulators and authority, they keep on publishing guidance note, follow this, follow regulation, follow obligation, etc. Our tendency started changing. Okay, you do everything, but I continue to do what I'm supposed to do. That's the mindset of our people. Sorry to say that, but that's what has been happening. Whereas in a white or whereas outside of India, world is the penalty is heavy. I deal with financial institution in US, in UK, and rest of the world, right? There's a mistake, it comes with X $1 million fine. It will collapse the system, and they take very seriously. Whereas fine will be 50,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. Maximum I'll go to criminal, maximum I will go to everywhere. It also doesn't take. So the seriousness or the repercussions or the consequences, our system is not great. And that's what the people and the authority let it happen. Whenever there's a damage has happened, they will put a small fine or inspection report, and we'll do firefighting, and we'll forget it, go back to square one from the next day. The question which you ask is very, very wide open, realistic, what's happening. But the bottom line of this problem, it will change. I'm not the right person to talk about from the regulator, but we have a positive vibes to keep it saying that it will change because of, for example, classic case of Vetrivelan, right? We come up, it's not in the rest of the world. We came up, and one of a regulatory or one of a mandatory requirement. When you ask this, the cost of this compliance is everyone is working, but there's a way to find a fall to get out of it. It's keep on happening because our people are super smart, and we find before what we supposed to comply, we'll find a way how to make a complaint rather than a complaint, right? That's the way we work on it. Why US, why UK, why rest of the world? For example, MAS. MAS is a Singapore regulator, right? HCAM is a Hong Kong Monetary Authorities from Hong Kong. Similarly, your SEC from US, and similarly your FAS, which is from UK. They are equivalent to RBI. They are the equivalent counterparts in the respective jurisdictions and geographies. RBI is also publishing a lot of things for NBFCs, banking world. Everything will happen. End of the day, oh, okay, we know this is what's happening. Either they'll try to put small patches and try to make a mitigation and try to satisfy the regulator and move on the business, because our economy and our ecosystem is completely different than what is happening. If it's happened in America, or if it's happened in Europe or rest of the Asia, right? There the situation is the fine has happened. The next day is shut down, and there are a lot of licenses being cancelled. Whereas if you see the number of licenses cancels are very less. Very, very boutique companies they target. They can't even touch the bigger fish or bigger organization, right? That's the way, because it will affect our economy, it will affect everything. So regulator taking a stand, saying that what is happening, what is the issues over here, what is the corrective actions to take it at, but they keep on watching out. So market news might not be happen, but they may do behind the scenes and try to fix it on it. Because the moment it comes to the market news, right, or the moment it comes to our media, right, the things are changing. Because our people get into quickly of withdrawing the money or getting into saying that, okay, this is an issue. A lot of recent bank incidents happened. You might know, I don't know how to quote the bank incident. The moment this happened, that everyone goes next day to the bank and withdrawing all the cash, right? So it's affecting our systems, right? So regulator and the financial institution and all the stakeholders who's part of this party, right? They've been very thoughtful in terms of what to disclose, what not to disclose. But everyone knows what's happening, sir. So honestly speaking, they are fixing that. But it might not be available to us only after a big damage happened, like Arshit Mehta or Kavi instance. So that's a bigger damage. Might be, but that scale, whether we are still doing, I think there's other ways to doing firefighting by the auditors, advisors, etc. Right? They keep on fighting on it to mitigate reduce the exposure of it. So that's the world we are living, sir.
Even for simple labor cases, yes, for simple labor cases, officer visiting for all tea shops for smoking, they are collecting 500 rupees per person. For this type of investment and this type of authority, we are not receiving any information. You see any tea shop, all labor inspectors coming here, wherever the cigarette is there, they are charging for 500 rupees, 1000 rupees. Something they are doing it for society. But these authorities, if you see any simple bank officer for pure or something, they are getting monthly salary of 1,000 to 1 lakh rupees, not even for chartered member. So even for cashier, getting more than 1 lakh salary per month. But these authorities are so many salary people, so many things is there. But we are not getting any news. The American is telling that this Tamil Nadu government is giving bribe, Tamil Nadu, this Andhra government is giving bribe. Now these authorities you are filling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 authorities apart from legislation, apart from parliament. So, no, what is the purpose of this program also? This is the second time I am filling this form. Can you tell me?
So, we all have a responsibility of the legislation or the whatever the steps which we created, right? And I can't go and question my regulator. So I can't go and question regulator. I can't question the legislation mechanism, the way they created.
No, not like that, sir. So you are coming because we will not contact with any higher thing. You are a masters to contact with so many people.
So that's what, sir.
So many big people, so many big people.
I don't even catch hold of
even nowadays the shops also selling anything, cigarette or anything, without the knowledge of others or without something they are giving. So தெரியாத மாதிரி கூறாங்க மாதிரி வாங்குறாங்க. அது இல்லை. பட் இதெல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஓப்பனாக எல்லாரும் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுறாங்க. எவ்வளோ டிரான்சாக்ஷன் நடக்குது. ஆனால் எல்லாம் வேற எவ்வளோ சொன்னதுலாம் இங்கே தெரியுது எல்லாருக்கும். அப்போ அத்தாரிட்டிஸ் என்ன ஏது பண்ணுறாங்க என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க அப்படின்னு தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
So, sir, I have to push back myself and talk about geopolitics now. So, geopolitics is the bigger game, and we thought we read news, we read Instagram, we read LinkedIn, we read so many social media, but there is a bigger agenda for geopolitics, right? US is telling about India. US is talking about who's doing bribe in India to get some licenses in their country, right? And the flip side of it, right? What US is doing, we are not creating or publishing those instances because our people also part of that party, right? They are creating specifically some target bigger groups to saying that these are involved on bribe, why we are not doing it, this and all. But if you go, it's happening in US, it's happening in the rest of the world also. The same issue, same bribe. Something comes, something might not come. It's all geopolitical, all agenda. So I think we can tell you how it works. It's not a. I know that you have so frustration with the way they're going to small kirana shop, on petty shop, and all. They're doing a lot of things, but bigger conglomerates and all never been happening. And so it's a target geopolitical agenda. That's the way it's going on.
We have a lot of genius people there. We have so many intellectuals are there in India. But we are not able to find out one simple thing. Everything is fine.
No, it's happening. I will tell one
you
of
see the Abdul Kalam, you know the Abdul Kalam, how he is famous. Launching a rocket uttare, America ke theriyama rocket uttare.
Yeah.
All are famous. Not for his hairstyle, not for his dressing and all. America vella grammar rocket uttara famous ana. அவர் இங்க ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு இன்சிடென்ட் வந்து கொஞ்சம் நல்ல கிராமர் அவன் சொல்லணும்ல சிவில் வந்து இந்த மாதிரி கூச்சாப்பா இந்த மாதிரி ஒண்ணுமே எம்சிஏல 2 சைட் வெர்ஷன் 1 வெர்ஷன் 2 வச்சுக்கிறாங்க எதுக்குன்னா ஒண்ணும் புரிய மாட்டேங்குது ஆனுவல் ரிப்போர்ட்னாக்கா V2ல பண்ணுன்றான் மற்றதுனாக்கா V3ல வாடுறான் ஒண்ணுமே புரிய மாட்டேங்குது எந்த ரூட்ல யார் போறதே தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
So we are reaching the maturity curve, sir, if I want to tell you correctly.
ஆளுங்க இருக்காங்க எஃபெக்டிவா வந்து வழி நடத்துறது. அப்துல் கலாம் வந்து நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டில் தான் படிச்சாரு, கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூலில் படிச்சாரு. அவனே கண்டுபிடிக்காத அப்படி நம்ம சேட்டலைட் அவ்வளோ சேட்டலைட் வச்சிருந்து அவனை கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியல அவர் ராக்கெட் அனுப்பும்போது.
So there is a different angle here, sir. If you want to see, all genius, best of the best brains are Indians. And if you go and sit in Tesla car, all created by Indians. It's if you classic is right, Google Indians, Microsoft Indians. So everyone who you were saying our people are genius, no doubt on it. They are good, very super smart. The super smart are sitting in outside India. Some of the average sitting in India. That's what I should say. And see, all going for their own personal choices, right? And yes, regulators are trying to achieve good maturity state. Because, for example, I mentioned, I don't know you were there in that time, they are putting AI in our insider trading mechanism. If you ask me, insider trading, it's hard to crack that nut. You can't even find how it's possible. Because we have so many threads, so you can't remove all the threads and find out the root thread, right? Because of the complexity of a transaction, the entire trading life cycle, and the stakeholders. If I want to make a trade, I have almost 10 to 15 touch points. When I say touch points, I have a custodian, I have my bank, I have my broker, I have my clearinghouse, I have my DP. Then I have to also satisfy the regulator, auditor, IMs, etc. Right? So many people are there in one single transaction, and they're trying to optimize to make it better. If you ask me, T+2 is happening in US. If I make investment, 2 days later the settlement has happened. Whereas our Indian people coming for T+0, this is the first in the world who are going for this platform. Good initiatives happening, bad initiatives also happening. So it's a mix and match, right? So one thing is now upcoming generations are trying to make the change or impact. But what you're saying is, what we seeing on the ground, what we saw on the people is not, but definitely I saw, because we are also recommending them, the regulator, authorities, tribunal, everywhere. We act as advisor for them, say, because they want the best practices. Because they also learning, honestly saying, the regulator also learning. Because if you go and sit in the regulator office, you can see what is the lifespan of that particular individual. They've been 40 years sitting there, right? They've been going year on the growth. Whether they have outside view what is happening, no. They're also trying to learn. They're trying to learn from US, they're trying to learn from consultant, they're trying to learn from the public. Public raise a lot of them. They go and sit with the public and hear from them what's happening, right? So because our nation is big, our system is big, and the touch point is big. So whereas in US they're also trying to do, or UK they're trying to do. A lot of instances we saw, they come with the DORA Act, for example, data localization, right? So data localization, it's not easy. Because many of our companies in India is not an Indian homegrown organic companies. All are company of West End. They're putting the GCC, they're putting their shops in India, right? If you ask me, data localization is my requirement. I have to keep all the Indian related data in Indian soil. This is what the similar you were saying that I have to keep it in there. You go and tell in this entire request that entire data sit in somewhere in Dublin, sit in somewhere in Mexico, somewhere in New York. How do you want to break the data and move to India? So it's not possible, because they say it's my parent company, I am the headquarter. It has to be in my data center. Whereas our regulator says it has to be in Indian soil. Whereas if you see the revenue shares, only 20% of my entire revenues come from India. Whereas 80% is coming from the rest of the world, right? Why have to invest to bring one data center, moving this 20% revenue per data in India? So see, because of so many things is happening, right? You can't even, everyone fighting towards a good justice, good operating model to have an optimized and efficient model. But still, people are thriving towards achieve it. No doubt, there is white gray hairs are there, but there is a tightening has to be done. It's a continuous learning process which they are doing. As advisors, we are also recommending these things. But end of the day, government is government. They have to decide what to do, what not to do, and when to do it. So we are all still part of our citizens with them.
Hello sir. So to speak at micro level, I need your opinion on 3 questions. The first one is, many IT people are earning more than other professions or other courses. You can see in social media also they are losing more money in F&O, futures and options. So what's your opinion on this? Do the government fail to make awareness to the people on this issue? Because I can witness this in ITR filings. So one of my clients lost almost 10 lakh. He is just a salary employee. He lost almost his 6 months salary in 3 trade sessions, F&O trade sessions. In 3 sessions he lost 10 lakhs. So what is your opinion on this?
See, one thing, I don't know, I called out, you catch that word. People wants to make money faster. That's the current trend. Specifically the IT people or anyone 20s, 30s or below 40s, right? Those category of people, they want to work less, earn more money, retire faster. That's going on their brain. They don't want to work hard. That might not be right for all. That's the general perception is coming. And you were saying the one case, one client, 10 lakhs they lost in one FPM, right? See, they don't know what is the underlying risk and the return of the product, how it works. What they are looking at the data pattern. Okay, this particular product, or it shows index of 40% growth for the last 6 months. That's not the case. That's not the case where they have to look and get it. They have to consult with the proper advisor if they are looking 10 lakhs. If it's 10,000, it's okay for them. That's each individual appetite, right? For him, might be 10 lakhs is a small money. He can go for on his own risk. For someone, might be bigger ones. For someone, will be that each one have their own appetite. The one advice is, without knowing your product, how the market behaves, how the product works, how the return comes. Without the knowledge, if they are investing, that's their own graveyard. Because it works sometimes. So we saw some of our one young kid, 21 old, he just put in the money in the Bitcoin. When the people are saying don't put in Bitcoin, he put in Bitcoin in El Salvador, the other nation who have a lot of Bitcoin, right? He invested in 10,000, it comes into 10 lakhs. So everyone pick up his case study and his entire friends group or peer group or the same category of people, they started happen to make money. So one single good case, they pick it and they go behind that. So that's a market news, that's a social media news, right? So that's the whole intention. The awareness is lacking. So they have to see the product lines, this portfolio, whether I should use this portfolio or that portfolio. It's a pure professional judgment. It's not an easy decision.
My question is whether the government is failed to educate the investors.
No, government give a chance. For example, investor awareness programs, BSc, MS, NSC, right? They keep on doing so many programs, and you have so many learning platforms is available. How the stock market or capital market behaves. All it gives enough information, but if you go, no one can get master. If someone come from, they spend almost 20 years in IIM, right? They are the investment managers. They know what is the market trend, where the Bloomberg market moving around, what is my Nasdaq is moving, what is my BSC is moving, what is my NS, and how that the performance of that particular product or the stock is performing. It has so many judgment has to be done. If I go looking like yesterday performed and deciding, I mean, no, it's my decision. That's what this capital market or the secondary market is completely marketed. They need to know the game very well, how it works. If someone thinking, I saw 10 years, some people put their entire career on reading this market. 8 o'clock morning, they'll be open that in front of system. Nowadays, it's a system. Previously, it was like your trading floor, right? How they go and shout and get the money, like brokers, right? They themselves also fail, right? It's all about how much of appetite I want to invest on, and how much I should take it the other alternate ways to get a secured return. Less risk return is also there. That's the way. So that's what it's the perception. If I decide that I want to run faster, I'll take high risk. It can be losing your money or you can get the money. It's a tiny difference.
As far as my experience is concerned, see, the thing is greed, and see, the government and awareness, every rules and regulations, what are the norms to follow, so much is being educated, but our psychologically and greed, no, it overtakes that, and we hope for the best and do all sort of things. That, see, for example, when the share market, see, when Madras share stock market used to be physical. I had clients who were the members. In fact, they sold their card at, the cards were sold. I know from that time. It was amazing to see some of the top stockbrokers at that time. They are supposed to be advising the clients again. They have lost massive monies in the market. So nobody is immune to this. See, the system is in place, regulators are in place. There have been so much research and advice. You see here, everywhere they'll tell you, don't invest, don't borrow and invest, don't invest beyond what you cannot observe. I mean, so there are so many thumb rules, everything. But our human nature, either greed or something, it keeps us from following those rules. So I think it is more rules and regulations are not required. More psychological, education is only I think is.
So one of our best education pattern in Western is happiness simulation class. For example, what they do in their graduations or the school grade, right? They're giving someone is interested on my financial or capital market, right? They from the schooling itself they have the simulation, right? They have a practical experience of how the investment works, where I should do the financial statement, what is the past 6 months trend, what is that market news on particular that company going to declare. So they watch out everything before I'm making a decision to invest or not decision. It's a simple how we starting a life in of how to make a cycling, right? We fed 10 times, 12 times, etc. That's happened at that stage. But even your matured professional people are misguided or miscalculated their decisions because of they missed out some one variable, right? For example, one of our famous IMs who's working in the leading investment banking client, right? He makes 200% perfect decisions. On the one fine day, which is the corona, right? He didn't know this is going to happen. The next day, its entire market was fell, right? He invested a lot of shares. I saw personally, right? He made an investment on entire portfolio to be invested there. The next day, it's gone. So we can't even know what's happening. The external factors, right? And all these external factors, he could deviate it. For example, this Ukraine-Russia war, right? He made a decision of making money or investing in Russia 1 month before. He put a lot of money there. The next month, war broke out. He didn't know what to do on it, right? So completely, he can't pull out the money back now. So all uncertainties are there. We have to take it. These are all professional veterans on the investment managers, right? They've been living the world only for investment. They know within 10 minutes they make a decision looking at 5 variables. That kind of experience and expert learned in their career. But they also fail. We saw a lot of them. So it's completely driven by the market with 10 or 15 factors. That's why so now there are 15 touch points are there. So anything slip, it will have a cascading impact also there. Any questions? Education system, yes. If you want to be a good investor, read all the BSc, MSc materials, they are good ones, and absorb it. Practice at a small scale, 10,000, 5,000. Try to see how you play the games in the market. Then you get stabilized after you are able to ride a bicycle on your own. Then go for the bigger number. If you have bigger number, then appoint some professional advisors. Then they will be able to guide you. But still, you want to take your own decisions. You need to know how the market behaves. I think looks like no questions further. Okay. Thanks for patience and thanks for taking time out in spite of that rainy day. And of course you want to clock CPRs, but still you still patiently till this end of the session. Thanks a lot for attending this.